I drive thousands of miles a year, turn up to a pub with a few people in and try and make them laugh without trying to avoid possible glassing. It's called being a comedian.
The sort of fact of the matter is that I think there's a historical legacy about humour. Every joke, everything humorous always has a victim in it. It's just the setup of how jokes work, I think. You're always laughing at someone less fortunate than yourself, I think often happens. Even slapstick, way back when, falling over on a banana skin is laughing at somebody else's misfortune.
Like now, like Jay Goody jokes. I mean, while she's on her last leg.
At the time, that was a
I
think there are always jokes that are deemed to be too far.
I watched the footage of Saddam being executed, and it really made me think, It made me think, is there nothing on the internet that I won't masturbate to?
I've seen a stand-up Phil Nickel, who's one of my favourites, jump within minutes, jump on the front row of a gig and put his crotch repeatedly in a guy's face, and it's hilarious. People are screaming with laughter. Is that seen as too far, or is that just funny? On the other hand, you could argue...
what's the dude that used to do the snooker show and tells really racist comedy?
Jim Davidson.
Jim Davidson, yeah, he's a cunt because he's a racist fucker, but
I think racism might be pushing it too far.
Pretty much.
You know what? In Dubai, every race under the sun lives there, and there's no politically correctness. It's crazy. You can fucking take the piss out of everyone all day long. We've got millions of... The place is owned by the Arabs, who are very wealthy and rich, as you know, and they're the bosses. Don't fuck with them. And then you get the Bangladeshis, Indians, Pakistanis. They build the place. The Filipinos do all the waiting, and the rest... It's quite funny, really. The Indians are not like Indians you get here. These Indians can't do enough for you. They fuck up everything they do, and they do that. You run one over. Oh, don't worry, Dad, no problem.
Are they funny, or is it too offensive? It's just... comedy, like music, like, I don't know, fashion, it's all so opinionated.
I'd have loved to have had a gay dad. Do you remember that stuff at school? My dad'll batter your dad. My dad could batter your dad. Listen! My dad'll shag your dad. And your dad'll enjoy it.
I think there are always jokes that are deemed to be too far. There are universal things you can't make funny. Child abuse has never been funny.
Paedophilia, I would certainly say.
And of course, racism.
Racism
is a big no-no as well.
Absolutely definite taboos.
I wouldn't say there's anything that's too taboo, as it were.
I think at the end of the day, it's not what you say.
As long as it's handled in the correct way,
It's how you say it.
God, I love being white. I really do. Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out, because this shit is thoroughly good. But let me be clear, by the way, I'm not saying that white people are better. I'm saying that being white is clearly better. Who could even argue?
I think a lot of topical comedy that's very in the moment, very now, is very hit and miss, and probably not going to stay around very long.
Paris Hilton is going to jail. The judge says that it's going to be a no-frills thing, and that is ridiculous. She is totally going to get special treatment. As a matter of fact, I heard that to make her feel more comfortable in prison, the guards are going to paint the bars to look like penises. I think it's wrong too. I just worry that she's going to break her teeth on those things. Anyway.
Has funny been replaced with outrageous in comedy?
I think...
No.
Society always conspires over time, at whatever period in history you dip into, to find something outrageous or offensive. That fantastic fact that Life of Brian by Monty Python was banned and became hugely popular because of that.
Now in the media, that could be seen because in the whole Russell Brand and Jonathan Ross saga back in November 2008, October, November 2008.
Don't hint.
I wasn't hinting! Why did that come across as a hint?
Because you know what you're talking about.
Now when you were doing...
In fact, your granddaughter!
That's his answer phone!
I'm sorry, I apologise. I apologise.
It's on the answer phone!
So that was a recent example, although I thought it was possibly about a step change in society where puerility wasn't going to be so acceptable anymore, because Jonathan Ross is always there with his knob gags as well. But I think he's sort of come back a little bit contrite, but actually it's now business as usual, I think.
There's a difference between TV and a comedy club. People go out to a comedy club late at night, like 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock, because it's night and they feel free and there's alcohol. And, you know, they get involved, they're there to shout, and, you know, it's a different arena. Though TV still has that kind of BBC polished, it's for the family, it's light entertainment.
I think one step change is comedians of old, sort of 20, 30 years ago, would be terrified of doing television because they blow their act in one fell swoop. So now comedians have to be a lot more switched on to making up more and more and more and more and more material.
In a live stand-up comedy club, you can say what you like in certain parameters. I mean, there was a reason why there was such a backlash against Michael Richards, Kramer from Seinfeld, when he did some put-downs on a heckler with racial slurs.
Shut up! 50 years ago, you had your upside down with a fucking fork up your ass! You can talk, your brain now, motherfucker! Roll his ass out, he's a nigger! He's a nigger!
Oh my God.
Now, I think we all can agree, that's not right, really.
I think Eddie Izzard articulated many years ago, which is the very, very thin dividing line between comic genius and out-and-out twat.
There's loads of topics that make people laugh.
I think it's just a taste thing.
People, I think, audiences relate to what's happening in their own lives. Because when a comic says, have you ever noticed? And they're like, oh my God, that happened to me today.
Comedy and what people find funny is always subjective.
So, I don't know. There's a lot of funny stuff out there.